Now you are the dominant supplement store and supplement provider across Australia, and made 170 million in revenue is mind-blowing.
Around 2004, when I'd done my last comp, and I had a good mate of mine who was successful in business. It's a great idea. He said, I'll give you the money, which is great. There was tough times because honestly, I really had no idea what I was doing. I mean, realistically, I set the store up, we had subs there, but then I really had to learn sales, especially when you're running a sale and the complaints you get. And I don't think, people that don't own a business understand how that impacts you personally.
So from 800K in your first year up now to roughly around the $170 million mark. What an incredible journey of growth, sacrifice, and discipline. Welcome to Breaking the Algorithm. Today's guest built an empire from the ground up, from competitive bodybuilding to founder of Nutrition Warehouse. Grant Mayo scaled his business to 170 million in revenue, and it's in one of the most cutthroat industries on the planet. It's super impressive what you've done, and we're so grateful to have you here, my friend.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it. Great to be here. Let's just stop there because that introduction was awesome. We're done. Cut.
Mate, I hope it did you justice, but I'm sure we're going to get into a heap more that will absolutely do you justice. And like I said, what you've done is unheard of. It's extremely impressive, man. And now you are the dominant supplement store and supplement provider across Australia, and made 170 million in revenue is mind-blowing. So congrats again.
No, I appreciate that. It's awesome. It's obviously due to having a vision and a dream and putting yourself out there, but also a great team and having a great community of customers and that come into our stores and appreciate what we do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's not an easy feat. I've been in business for 15, 20 years, and I was in the gym space and now in the online space in different areas. And to build bricks and mortar at that scale, I don't think people realize or give enough credit to how many moving parts there are when you've got over 500 employees. I think you got 110, 15 stores now?
Yeah, let's count. It goes up and down. About 115 plus.
Oh, mate. I mean, there's so many moving parts. So we're going to go through all of it. And this is all about breaking the algorithm, speaking about the untold truths about business and life. And so why don't we rewind and start from the beginning and just tell us a bit about your journey here, but your bodybuilding career and then moving into business and what that was like for you.
Yeah, sure. How much time we got?
As long as you want, mate, I'm here for it.
I guess for me, it was the journey started when I was around 21 years old. I got a weight set off somebody, for my 21st birthday, and I started toying with that. Yeah. So it was one catalyst moment. Another one was, unfortunately, my dad passed away around that time as well. And he was only 42 years old. Had some heart complications, rushed to the hospital, and 48 hours later, unfortunately, he passed away. And I think that left an impact on me as a young boy, thinking, well, did Dad look after himself properly? Maybe I should go to the gym, get into fitness. And then the third thing that happened is, I was up here on the Gold Coast on a holiday, and I got some sand kicked in my face off a bouncer, in a nightclub. I probably deserved it. Who knows? I can't remember, to be honest. Too long ago. And I think those three things really forged into something. Okay, well, I'm short, I'm skinny. I'm going to try this, get into the gym and just sort of lift some weights, look after myself a bit better, start eating some better foods. And, before long, I sort of fell in love with this weight training, When I first started going, I was sort of like, do I really, want to get into this gym and build muscle? But then I started reading these muscle magazines, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and, these legends of our time that we see around today. And then one day Lee Priest walked in the gym. He was, Australia's best export into the US, pro bodybuilder. He's only short in stature, which suited me because I'm only 5'7". He was, I think, 5'4" or 5'5". So looking at him, I'm like, wow, that's incredible. He can build a physique so impressive. And I was like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. I'm going to take this skinny little Grant Mayo and turn it into something, similar to Lee Priest if I can. So I guess I had a mission then that I went on a journey that lasted like over 10 years. And started hitting the gym harder and reading all the bodybuilding magazines and training. And then a few guys in the gym said, you should compete. It's time to compete. And I went, okay, well, let's go try one. So I went down to Wollongong with my girlfriend at the time and my best mate, and away from family and friends because I didn't want to, embarrass myself realistically. I was sort of like, my God, what am I doing, in this, little trunks up on stage all tanned up. but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I went down the Wollongong first comp. I won the novice and under 70 kilos. And I was like, wow, that's the first thing I've ever won in my life. I was 23 years old. And I was like, am I onto something here? Like I love the process. I love going to the gym, eating your foods. I felt healthier. I felt more confident in myself. I went back up and bashed that dancer up. No, I didn't. But I could have. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to set my sights on more bodybuilding competitions. So I set my sights on, I won the novice comps. I'll set my sights on winning regional and bigger titles. And maybe one day I could be Mr. Australia. So I kept training and competing, and year after year, getting better and refining the body, and watching all the magazines, looking at the magazines, watching the videos you could buy off on the internet back then, and get delivered. And yeah, it was a pretty surreal time, and I kept growing. And before I knew it, I was on stage winning Mr. Australia, and in 1997, and I won the overall and beat all these array of bodybuilding guys around me, which when I'm looking at them thinking, how do I beat these guys, But I beat them. And then they said, here's a ticket to Greece. You're going to go and compete in the world titles in Greece with, your team members here, and you're off on a plane in like 4 weeks. I'm like, holy crap. And I was 27 years old by then, so I was fast forward a few years. And I've never been on a plane before, like internationally.
Yeah.
So I had to go get a passport, jump on a plane. And that was a surreal experience in itself, because you got to prepare, and you're dieting for a comp, and you got to take all your food with you. So that was a mission in itself. But, if you want to win and achieve, you've really got to, set up these, avenues to make sure you're prepared to do everything you can to win. So I was eating chicken breast and egg whites on the plane, to the disgust of everyone around me. But we didn't care. We were there to win. And yeah, in Greece, and I still remember being there, and I walked into this massive stadium in Greece, and there was thousands of spectators and hundreds of athletes. And I got up to compete, obviously, with other guys, and there was about 40 people in my class, which was class 3. And then, before they knew it, they called it top 6, and I was in the top 6. And I thought, oh man, top 6, I'm happy as Larry. And they call it top 5, top 4. And I'm like, wow, top 3, I'm still here. Like, I'm not going to win, but, I'm top 3, I'm ecstatic. And then before they knew it, top 3rd, 2nd place. And, Grant Mayo, you've won the Mr. World title in Greece. And I was flabbergasted, to be honest, because the guys up there were sensational. But obviously, you're your own worst enemy sometimes. You don't look at yourself, especially as a bodybuilder, you get that dysmorphia of like, I'm never good enough. And I probably had that at the time. I wanted to be better, bigger, stronger. But I won, and I was ecstatic about that, and come back to Australia and thought, man, I just won the world title, and that was only after about 6 years of training. So I went from this skinny little kid thinking, can I be a bodybuilder, seeing Lee Priest, training in the gym with my mates, weighing probably, 55, 60 kilo tops, and turning that body into, a world-class competitor. So I was pretty elated. And then after that, I kept competing a few more comps, but, and retired in 2004. But to be honest, I was never as good as I was on that 1997, because I was driven to succeed and win on that day. And after I won, and I reached a place where I thought that I never thought I could get to, the rest was just bonus and cream. But I didn't really want to be any better than that, to be honest. I didn't want to turn pro like a Lee Priest. Amateur, Mr. World, I'm done. Still competed, still done okay, but I was never Mr. World ever again.
Mate, incredible achievement, huge. And you did it all without Instagram or taking selfies at the gym. Completely, thankfully. Yeah, completely different time. But again, and it takes a whole different level of motivation and inspiration. I think back then, when you didn't have, again, Instagram and all these other sort of reward systems feeding you to get into the gym and really put in that effort. And like you just said, when you're jumping on planes and you're bringing your chicken, it was back then, that would have been a spectacle for sure. People probably had never seen someone so obsessed. How did you learn to be obsessed like that? Did you know that's always been in you, or did you sort of cultivate that over a period of time?
That's a great question. It's tough to say. I think there was something always ingrained in me. Whether that come from, I give you some examples. Like, mum and dad were this very middle class, lower middle class family. We never had a lot of money. So I used to be like, hey, I want to learn karate, mum. And mum would say, we can't afford to send you. I go, okay. Hey, I want to go to the Scouts. Probably lucky I didn't go there, but, couldn't afford to buy the uniform for the Scouts back then, there was all these things that sort of stuck with me. Can't afford to do it, can't afford to do it. So when I got older, even in my youth, I'd go down to the golf course and collect golf balls just to have some money to have some entertainment with, you know what I mean? But I sort of enjoyed that too, and then the paper run, I was the guy doing the paper run. So there was something instilled with me. Where it come from, probably part growing up and not having a lot of money and thinking, I don't want to be like this for the rest of my life. How do I break, through that barrier and change? But, I didn't have any, I've dropped out of high school. I didn't have any business acumen or anything. I just had a drive there to go, through bodybuilding. Bodybuilding taught me that, there's a drive there. I can achieve things, because bodybuilding is very disciplined. You are training 5-6 days a week. And the eating is relentless, every 3 hours, eating certain foods that normal people would be disgusted about for not days, months, but years. And then competing and dieting hard to get on stage and then traveling around the world doing that. So there is a discipline there that was taught. But where it come from, I don't know to answer your question, to be honest, but it definitely takes a certain type of individual or mindset to achieve that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And then also, I think it then develops over time, doesn't it? I mean, it slowly sort of calluses you and hards you up and gets you even more dialed in the more that you apply it and get those rewards from it. I think something changes in you eventually where it becomes second nature and then it just starts to stack on top of each other as you go. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think, as a young person, I was very, I was small, tiny, shy. And bodybuilding taught me that, if you really dig in and are devoted to something, you can achieve something, really whatever you want to do, whatever you put your mind to, I think you can achieve. Lee Labrada, old bodybuilder back in the day, taught me, well, believe it, achieve it. And that stuck with me for a lot of years too. If you really believe you can do something, I think you can actually take action on that. Small steps, big steps, turn into something bigger in the end.
Yeah, totally. You're clearly very competitive as well, which I love about you. And I mean, you wouldn't be here at the level in business that you are, or the level in bodybuilding, if you didn't have that sort of dog in you, that competitive drive that not a lot of people have. I mean, I think we live in an interesting time where, for some reason, not unknown, but it's definitely known, that we're not rewarding people that are competitive and want to achieve greatness. It's like we're trying to just level everybody out. Nobody gets first place ribbons anymore. Everybody needs to get a ribbon just for showing up, where, in business and reality, merit is the only thing that will actually get you the freaking result at the end of the day. And you're an awesome example of that, from your competing days all the way through to business. Did you find when you were young and growing up that you were just as competitive? I know you're driven and obsessed, but that sort of competitive nature, wanting to beat others and just truly be great and own that. Did you always have that as well?
I don't think so. I mean, I played soccer, the usual sports, soccer, cricket. I don't think I had that same drive when I was younger. I think I just wanted to participate, make friends, be part of the community. It probably wasn't until I was a little bit older. And I think it truly wasn't until I found bodybuilding. I had that mindset of like, I wanted to be, wealthier or better. I would say better than my parents, but have more than my parents. You know what I mean? I didn't want to live in that, poverty state. I wanted to be able to travel, experience things and do things that, money gives you freedom. Doesn't give you much else really. It just gives you freedom to choose things. I think that that's the pathway that it took me.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, when you finished your bodybuilding career, you've obviously gone in the trenches, achieved some incredible things. When you got back to Australia, what was the next stage from there? Were you wanting to do more in that space, or did you just come to terms with, no, I think I'm going to start looking at business? Or what was the mindset after winning that huge achievement?
Good question. Still bodybuilding. Like, even though I sit here now, I think looking back, I can say that after that win, I probably, pulled my gas off the accelerator a little bit. did I look as good or train as hard? I'll leave. You can see the videos. You can make your own mind up. In my own mind, no, I think 1997 was my year. I still competed. I'd done the universe in 98 and placed 7th, I think. Disappointed, of course, but being in this universe, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger won that, in the 70s, and being on the same stage was like mind blowing. And then I'd done the Mr. World in 2000 and in 2004 and come second and third. So still done well. I shouldn't just go come second or third, but, if you win one, you want to win several. But in between that, I still had no business drive or anything to really get into business. It wasn't until, around 2004 when I'd done my last comp and I had a good mate of mine who was successful in business, said, sort of grabbed me and shook me and, what are you going to do in your life? You're like 30 now. You've been bodybuilding for the past 10, 12 years. Like, what's next? And I'm like, I don't know. And so he gave me this book, which is sitting over there, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I read that book and then I basically had an epiphany moment. Okay, well, I'm going to open my own business. What am I going to do? Well, I love sports supplements. I love the sports industry. I love bodybuilding, fitness, and we're talking 20 years ago. So it wasn't as big and active as it is now. It's really grown. I've seen it, prosper over the years, but it was the beginning. And I went, I'm going to open up a supplement store because I started working for a company called Southern Blue just prior to that. And they were selling supplements and they hired me because, probably not because of my business acumen and my smarts, more that, hey, Grant's Mr. World, he looks the part. We need to get these sports supplements into, chemists and Go Vitas and health food stores, because back then supplement stores realistically weren't around, 2 or 3 around in Australia. That was about it. So that's when I had this epiphany moment after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was like, okay, well, I'm an ex-bodybuilder, world champion. People are asking me for advice all the time. Hey, Grant, how do you look like that? What do you eat? What supplements are you taking? Et cetera, et cetera. And then I was selling these supplements to, Go Vitas and health food stores, like I said. And I just went, I've opened up my own supplement store, a place where like-minded individuals come, get advice. I could write it down for them, give them a plan for free, and they buy the supplements. That sounds like a good idea.
Totally.
Except one big problem. And no money.
Always the biggest problems. We're starting out.
I got $500 in my back pocket. Not a good, not even my back pocket. So that was, the first moment I realized, wow, I've got this idea which I actually like, and it could actually work, but couldn't finance it. So I thought, okay, well, what does one do, to finance it? I need to find some money. I need about 20 grand, to start this startup. Ask parents, ask banks, ask, good friends. No one, 20 grand back then is probably like 100 grand today.
Yeah.
Or with inflation, probably like $1 million.
Exactly.
So I knew one person that always seemed to be, have some cash and looked after himself, and that was Simon Rees. And Simon Rees come from Newcastle, we were friends, and I was living on the Gold Coast at the time. And I just said, hey, I want to float you an idea. So Simon came up and floated the idea, and he went, it's a great idea. He said, I'll give you the money, which is great.
Yeah.
Except he said, I'll own half the business and you own half.
Yeah. Well, smart by him. Yeah.
Smart by him.
Yeah.
I went, hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
We signed up and we started, and together we founded Australian Sports Nutrition in Southport and just down the road here in 2002.
Yeah. It's still one there at the moment.
Yeah, it's moved up the road, but it's still in Southport. It's been there for over 20 years.
What was Simon doing about stage? Was he in Southern game or not?
He was in the construction game.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. Selling construction items and that, not actually doing construction. But Simon was into his fitness too, and we both loved training and et cetera. And it was a good fit.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really resonate with this story. I come from a similar background of competing, and then had an idea to open the gym in Melbourne back in 2010 or 11, and had the same problem. No money, had to go out there and raise the capital and start the journey from there as well. And I think a lot of, everybody has great ideas, right? But it's very few people that have the resilience and the grit to go out there and find the solutions, face the rejection. I'm curious, just for all of the startup entrepreneurs, how many people did you pitch or approach roughly before you got even a glimpse of hope,
Uh, well, it's hard to say because my memory's fading.
Mm.
But it was a lot. And the thing is, I didn't have any business acumen either. I just had this idea. Like, I haven't been to business school. I dropped out in year 10 in high school. So, I just done what any Aussie would do. I just approached people that I knew and trusted and said, hey, I've got this great idea, and just pitched it to them. I didn't hand them a business plan. I didn't even know what a business plan was, I've got an idea. I'm pretty sure it can work, but I'm not sure. Would you like to give me some money and we'll find out?
Yeah.
I didn't even know if they said yes, whether I would give them equity in the company, because I didn't know what equity was back then.
Totally.
Just like, I've got an idea. Let's go. You know what I mean? And luckily I found Simon and he understood that and he thought it was a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great example of having vision, passion, enthusiasm. I think those three things can take you a really, really long way, especially at the start, being willing to have a go and figure it out. As long as you do have that obsession and dedication, you've really got to trust your gut sometimes and really go all in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it worked out well. And Simon put the money in, and then I found a store in Southport underneath Archer's Gym. So any local around here, remember Archer's Gym? Great little place to train. It's only like 70 square meters. It was only tiny. I laid the carpet, put the walls up myself. Has a few mates help me screw in some shelves. And honestly, it was a little counter with a cash drawer, 2 or 3 meters of shelving on the wall with some supplements on it. And that just, that's how we started. Put a sign on the door and started going around the gyms and saying, hey, we're selling supplements, come on down. And, because I did have a name in the industry, people go, oh, Grant's opened a store, let's go check it out. And it started to grow quite rapidly. The store grew, we added more shelves, more products, and we're the only supplement store on the Gold Coast.
Oh.
There was one in Brisbane called Ada Street, and there was one near Springwood as well. So, but people were driving from the Gold Coast all the way to Brisbane and spending $400 or $500, a couple of months' supply and bring it back because you couldn't buy those brands or the products they're looking for in the health food stores. So here we are on the Gold Coast where all the beautiful people live, and except us, we're doing our best. And obviously people didn't have to drive them. So it was convenience to start with.
Oh, totally. What an opportunity. I mean, you clearly saw a space in the market and you really filled the gap, which is incredible. What an awesome time to actually start the journey.
And I guess I have bodybuilding to thank, realistically. If I never, went to the gym, I never got cancer, sand kicks in my face. If I had, rich parents at the time or wealthy, I probably would never have, looked for something to create because there would have been a handout. So I'm sort of thankful for those moments of, where mums did say no, because I think that did build resilience in me and make me think about, well, if you want to get ahead in life, you really have to, think of a path and create a path yourself and not just wait to be handed to you.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure that lesson served you continuously from that point forward. Before I move, I want to ask you a little bit about the first couple of years in ASM. But before I do, what were your top 3 to 4 lessons that you learn in competitive bodybuilding that's really shaped you now?
Yeah, well, disciplined. Bodybuilding is a really disciplined sport. I think if you're a great golfer, you can still go out and have McDonald's 3 times a day if you want. You're still a great golfer. With bodybuilding, it's very extreme in terms of the food. You as you know yourself, it's you're eating high protein, low carb, high fats. Depends on what sort of diet you are. Relentlessly for months to get in shape to jump on stage. And that will really sort out, the men from the boys and the champions from the non-champions, because it's really tough to do that. When you're really deprived of, nutrients, carbohydrates, food, calories, it can drive you a little bit insane. And you really got to push through those barriers. And it really sorts out, yourself in terms of staying on a disciplined road and journey to get to, to win a trophy on stage. One day, a couple of hours out of your life just to do that. But the whole journey can be years in the making. Where I think other sports, not trying to take anything away from other sports, they're all amazing. But if you don't have to change your eating habits, then possibly a little bit easier to do. Except UFC, that's still fucking hard.
Yeah. I supposed to be clean before a fight, I'm sure. But you're right. It's that sacrifice, isn't it? And that consistency over a long period of time. And I'm sure you've felt it before, but it's a mental warfare, isn't it? Like I remember when I competed and got my pro card in Chicago, that same doubt in my body and my physique. That was like the one competition where I thought, nah, I'm going to pack this up. Like there's no point. All these guys look awesome. Really just wigging myself out. And again, that was the one that I actually won my pro card and, showed up and got the win. But, it's with that consistency and that constant mind warfare, you're really changing and transforming yourself every time you keep that promise. Every time you follow through on something you've said you've done in the gym or with your food or anything in regards to training, you're really growing and growing a whole lot faster than most people around you. And I don't think people understand how powerful that really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And before you see consistency, that's another one, being consistent, not just starting something and then, I'm going to do this, New Year's Eve fad or something. We're going to do this, it lasts 30 days and you stop doing it. I mean, consistency is a key, I think, to anything in life, if you wanted to be good at something, if you want to be a master, if you want to win something, if you want to achieve something, nothing worth having is overnight or just handed to you. It really is a relentless pursuit of excellence over many months and years, like Nutrition Warehouse has been going for 17 years, and the other one I would say is just, consistency, discipline. And the other one, what bodybuilding taught me was that if you really believe it, you can achieve it. Again, from Lee Labrada used to say, and I held on to that because I do love that concept, that if you really think you want to do something, if you really got a desire for it, you can achieve it, But I think most people don't believe that they can achieve things. And I think the other part of that too, is you've really want it. You really got to want it, Bodybuilding was weird because I was this skinny little kid and I really put myself into this mindset mentality, if I look back now, of I am going to be a good bodybuilder. Nothing is going to stop me. People might laugh at me and ridicule me. What are you doing? You're eating all this food. You're not going out. You're not partying. You're staying home. It's almost like I transformed myself into that just by the will of thinking. It might sound weird, but that's what I believe. And probably lived like a monk for about 10 years too, disciplined and consistent with that mindset of, I have to achieve this or I'll let myself down.
Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, you locked in and you sacrificed for the goal and you freaking did it. And again, I think so many of those lessons for everybody listening flow through perfectly into business. Like really the same discipline, consistency, skill set, same willing of sacrifice, all those traits are within great entrepreneurs. And I think what an awesome training ground to really hone that in before you started your business journey. So when you started ASN and you're in your first 2 years, tell me about that journey. Was it tough going? Were you struggling? Did you have some dark moments? What was those first couple of years like for you?
Yeah. I mean, there were great times realistically. I mean, had my own business or I'm in Southport. There was tough times because honestly, I really had no idea what I was doing. I mean, realistically, I set the store up, we had subs there, but then I really had to learn sales. I had to learn how to turn a computer on. This is 22 years ago, 23 years ago. So, computers were just sort of coming through then. I'm like, what is this computer thing? We didn't have them at school and so forth. So I had to get taught how to use a computer. It's just those little things, sales, computers. I didn't know that much about sports supplements. I used the creatines, the proteins and aminos were big back then, but I didn't really know what their actions were or how they actually helped the body. Obviously, protein was a simple one. So I had to teach myself, each category, each, products of what they did. So when people come in, and they look at me and think, this guy knows everything, that I could back that up with actual, science and, and help this person achieve what they wanted to do. And so they can come back to the store and tell their friends that they said, Grant, he knows his stuff, you know what I mean? So it's all those things I never thought about, marketing, I still remember the first marketing ad I'd done in the newspaper. They're like, what sort of marketing ad do you want to do? And, do you want it to be about brand or about sales? And I'm like, what's that mean? You know what I mean? Like, well, this is, and they had to explain it to me, which made me feel like inferior and a bit stupid. But I've learned over the years, if I didn't ask, how much more stupid would I be today? Like, I think not asking those questions is the stupid thing. Ask. If you're not sure, just ask. Doesn't matter who you're around, who you're with. If you don't ask, you'll never know. So I got curious and I kept asking questions. And then I started talking to other business people and friends and just learning each piece of the puzzle of how to create a business. Still learning today, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it never ends, does it? I mean, it's constant learning.
Yeah.
And so what were some of the biggest mistakes you feel like you made in the first 2 to 3 years that, looking back, you wish you'd maybe gone in a little bit more prepared, or that you'd like to share with the viewers too?
Yeah, with ASN, probably, I don't know if there was mistakes, because you learn from all those mistakes. You know what I mean? There probably was mistakes, but honestly, I can't think of one now. But I know that anything we did back then that didn't work, then I would remember that and not do it again. But for me, it was about just fine tuning. When people come in, just fine tuning my delivery, how I spoke to them, making sure that, the environment was clean, the store was clean, my expectations as a customer when I walk into a store. Those probably mistakes. Like, you look, everything's hindsight. If I look back now, we could have scaled faster. We could have opened faster. We could have done X, Y, Z, but I know that now. I didn't know that back then. So there was nothing major mistakes we made back then, I don't think. We started. That was the main thing.
Yeah, totally. And I think, for everybody listening that wants to start a business or has been in business, really the journey starts the same. Unless you've had parents that have taught you the entrepreneurial game or you've grown up in business, we all start not knowing what we don't know, and we go in there. I remember my first business plan, and I look back at it sometimes just to laugh at myself and think, like, these forecasts that I created to raise capital in the business plan, absolute nonsense, like, looking back at it. But you just have a crack, and you've got to just have faith that you're going to figure it out and find a way on the journey. And it sounds like you had that self-belief as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with totally what you just said then. It's like just finding a way, and like I said, staying curious, asking questions. I would sit with lots of different people, strangers. Hey, you're doing that business. Can I have a chat to you? Let's go for a coffee. And learn, then start buying business books, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and so forth, and learning through books. It's a lot easier now to access through podcasts and, with the technology of today. But I actually started to fall in love with business like I did bodybuilding. The gentleman that owned Genetics Gym in Newcastle, where I used to train, Warwick Mossman was his name. I still remember to this day, he said to me, Grant, he owned the gym, if you can put as much passion into a business as you do in this, you're going to be super successful. And I still remember that when I started ASN, and I went, okay, I'm just going to put the same passion into it. But I actually did fall in love with the process, turning up each day and serving customers and refining the model and so forth. And then it lasted for a few years, and then things went a little bit pear-shaped.
Yeah. So you were, just before we get onto that, which I'm excited to talk about, but let's talk about vision. When you started ASN, I mean, it was your idea. You went out, you raised the capital, you got a partner involved. Now, you've got 100-something stores, 170 million. Was that always a vision for you? Or did you say, I'm going to be happy with one store? Or did you think, no, I want to be dominant in this industry? What was the mindset and the sort of emotional state at that stage?
Yeah, it wasn't start with, 100 stores. It was more like, 2 or 3 stores, maybe half a dozen stores. And, to be honest, it never, day one, store one was not like, where's the next store? It was, get this store profitable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even then, it wasn't even profitable. It's more like, just get this store running, get customers in, It wasn't about the money, about making the money. I needed to make it profitable because we had bills to pay. But that probably wasn't number one in my mind. It was more like, how do we make this work? How do we get this model working? Then once that one started working, it was like, where's store number 2? Let's open one down in Mermaid because it's too far to come from Southport. And then where's store 3? And so it wasn't sitting there going, I got this grand vision. I'm going to, take over the world with 100 supplement stores like we do today. It was just like, let's see if this works. You know what I mean? Let's make it work and then roll out store 2, 3, and 4. And not even about rolling out stores. How do we engage the community? How do we be the most loved supplement store in Australia? And I used to look at overseas, like GNC and Vitamin Shop, who have thousands of stores, and look at them for like ideas, and it was a lot tougher back then because, internet was really just starting in 2000s. So it was tougher to get information, like a lot easier to access today, but back then was a lot tougher. So a lot more talking to people questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is another really good point for everybody out here thinking they've got it tough in regards to business. Now is the ultimate time to have an idea and create a business. Way easier than back when you started business. That's for damn sure. So
100%.
Tell us about the journey then. You had a partnership, you're in ASN, and then things started to go a little bit awry. What happened?
Yeah. Look, some of our great friends, thankfully lent me the money. We got the business started. Together we rolled out about 5 or 6 stores. Simon decided to come into the business. And he was just a silent partner. So then I was running everything. And he decided to come into the business because, it was growing rapidly. Everywhere you went, everyone was wearing ASN shirts. We're sponsoring all the bodybuilding shows. We're building community. ASN was on everyone's fingertips. If you're in the gym training, you're wearing an ASN singlet. It was great times. And Simon came in and took over. And, they always say now, when you look back, don't get involved in business with family, friends, and I can see why, because unfortunately it didn't work out for Simon and I. We clashed a lot. We had different visions of the brand. And I want to take the brand in a different direction, realistically. What happened ultimately with Simon and I, either of us wasn't right or wrong. Simon had his way, I had my way. We weren't meeting in the middle. So we kept clashing. One day we sat down and said, this isn't working. We both agreed one of us has to go. And I put my hand up and said, Simon, it's probably best I go. You take over. And that's what I did. So after about 5 or 6 years at ASM, everyone was like, well, you're crazy. Why are you leaving for? This is an established business. It's doing well. You're making profit. Like, don't go. And I went, I'm not happy. I'm like, if anything, I'll be depressed if I stay here. And it's not good for my mental state. And I felt like it wasn't even a company I helped build anymore. So I bowed out. But I guess I already knew what I was going to do in the back of my mind. And that was Found Nutrition Warehouse.
Yeah, incredible. Was that a difficult time? I mean, obviously, any relationship breakdown is challenging, especially when you guys were such great friends and had some experience together and were comrades for such a long time. But from an identity standpoint, did you find it difficult to break away from Grant ASN, or was there anything that mentally and emotionally took place at that period of time when you left the business?
Honestly, it was the best feeling when I left.
Oh, wow.
The day I left and got the check, for my 50%, there was like a massive weight lifted off my shoulders. And I felt free for the first time in years. And it was a great big, and I think the reason why is because I knew what I wanted to do and it was more exciting than what I was doing. So I had a new vision to go after, and some new goals to kick. And it was going to be Grant's way to do it without any business partners. So I think I was super excited to get onto that journey.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I love to hear it. Let's talk a little bit about partnerships because, I've got multiple business partnerships and luckily over time I've picked some really good partners and, I've also had some not good partners as well. So we all face that in the game. But what would your advice be for entrepreneurs that are looking for a partner or have a partner in order to try to maintain a good relationship ongoing? What would some quick tips and advice?
Yeah, I would just say, set the expectations and foundations up front, have a clear vision of what you both want to do. When we started, we didn't have a clear vision. Let's just start. If I started doing it again, have a clear vision. Do we both agree? Let's put it in writing. If we want to change it, let's talk to each other. Clear goals of whose responsibilities, who's responsible for what and when and why. Not like, we'll just do whatever we feel like. Because then, I might be working my ass off every day and then you're like at the beach, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, that's not really fair. And that's how things start to break down. Well, in any relationship, realistically. So clear goals and expectations of each other and what the business is about and what you want to achieve together. Without those foundations, things can, you're leaving it to the gods realistically so you've got to have those clear foundations.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying don't go into a business with friends, family. It can work. I've seen it work before. I would just be cautious about it myself personally, but I wouldn't say it's not for everybody.
I'd agree. And I'd also say, personality types are so important, right? Like if you've got two alpha males, very egotistical, maybe not in a bad way, but competitive or wanting to take the more significance. If that's if significance is a goal over friendship and actually winning, that can be a big problem in business as well. Did you feel like you were both sort of young, hungry alpha males that were sort of clashing because of that factor a little bit, or?
Probably explains it pretty well, yeah. I mean, look, we were younger then, and I think as you get older, you lose that ego. But when you're young, you're fighting, you've got that ego, you want to prove a point. You don't know how to communicate effectively with yourself, with others, or with team. So you can just get into, fisticuffs for no reason when, it can just be a good, honest, open conversation. But whilst I loved my days at ASN, it helped me, forged me for the future. I learned a lot from it. But I was happy to move on and separate myself and then start my own business.
So we leave ASN where we've got the check for 50%. We're excited and it feels like the pressure's come off you. What's next? What's the goal? What did you do in order to get started? Did you go to Thailand for a holiday or did you get straight into it? What was the plan?
Probably should have went to Thailand for a holiday, anywhere for a holiday, but no, I got straight into it. So yes, day I left, I, went and found a nutrition warehouse. Prior to that, I already knew what I was doing, probably days or months before that. And I already said that I'll leave ASN. And I was searching for a new name, And, stupidly enough, I come up with the name Worldwide Sports Nutrition because Australian sports nutrition, I'll have worldwide sports nutrition.
I love that.
Which, last minute I changed it. I was actually with my mum at the time in Newcastle, and I was walking around in my mind. It may sound silly, but for weeks, months, my mind was like, what is this name? Worldwide Sports Nutrition isn't going to cut it. It's too long. Imagine typing that into the web, So, I actually walked past Chemist Warehouse in Wallsend down in Newcastle, and I went, Chemist Warehouse, Nutrition Warehouse. Shit, that's a pretty good name.
Yeah.
Hey, Mum, what do you think of that? She goes, I like that name. Went straight home, looked at domains and went, it's available, buy. Done, and Nutrition Warehouse was born. Changed it the last minute to Nutrition Warehouse.
Incredible. So how long after leaving, getting that check, did you actually open your first site?
Probably about four to 6 months.
Yeah.
So pretty rapidly. So part of the exclusion from ASN is I couldn't open within 50K radius of any ASN. Thankfully, there wasn't many around. There was only 5. And, Simon, in his wisdom, went, well, nowhere in Australia for like 2 years, but I got that down to 50 Ks because I already knew where I was going to open. So I got in my car at Southport because I was living in Southport right here at the time, drove 50 kilometres and I arrived at Underwood, not far from that other supplement store called the Supplement Den, which was probably the second biggest in Brisbane at the time. And I went, oh God, there's a lot of competition there. Oh, well, just like bodybuilding, I'm just going to give them the, bit of an uppercut and see if this brand works or not. If I'm going to stand on stage or compete with other retailers, let's just start with store 1. So basically opened across the road from them in April 2008. So our 17th birthday is coming up shortly. And opened that store, just myself. I couldn't afford, to hire any staff at the time. So the first 6 months, it was just me. Opened up the store and no one's coming in. Days at a time. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? But it slowly grew and I was done some guerrilla marketing and went out and saw gyms and dropped letterbox drops and talked to people and went to gyms and, relentlessly worked and done whatever I needed to do. Again, just, hey, okay, what works? How can I get people to know about me? Couldn't afford TV, big budget marketing stuff. So it was really just feet on the ground. And before I knew it, that store was cranking. I hired Paul, my first staff member. And before I knew it, store 2.
Wow, amazing.
Before that, store 3.
Yeah.
And then I guess my vision did change where I was like, okay, well, I want to open up more supplement stores, not just a handful. And, I was pretty driven at that time, a bit like the early bodybuilding days. And they dare to say a lot of that drive was, take over and beat ASN at their own game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was this, friendly banter between the team members at Nutrition Warehouse. Whilst our mission at the time was to inspire others to help people achieve their health and fitness goals, really it was crush ASN.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were driven by that, which is, looking back now is probably not the best idea, but hey, it drove us.
Oh,
And we used to have some friendly banter and laughter about it. And it drove us to get up early in the morning, work late nights, drive to the store, go above and beyond, and set the standard early.
yeah, it's so true. I mean, I think there's no motivation like having not an enemy, but a competitor you're trying to beat. When I was in the gym game, I had the same thing. I had one or two people that just were my target that I was always trying to beat. And it used to like stir me at night. I'd feel that and I'd get angry about it. And I'd be like, we've got to do better. We've got to do more. And I always try to find someone to peg in order to go after and chase and do better than. It's so important for my motivation. So I love that. It brings me a bit of peace knowing that someone like you also has that same mentality.
You've got to have a common enemy, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess they're not really an enemy, but it's sort of like you want to go after somebody that drives you, and pushes you more than you would. It's like back to the competitive bodybuilding days, we can Snapchat each other or send Instagrams, but just knowing there's a bunch of bodybuilders out there training, eating, and I couldn't see them. They would call me because we were friendly back then, oh, you should see me, I'm weighing this. They'd probably line through their teeth, but I'd be like, oh my God, in my mind, he looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm never going to beat this guy. It's made me train harder, eat better, sleep better, So it drove me. So I think in the early days of Nutrition Warehouse, that drove our small team to conquer. And I still remember the day that we overtook them in store numbers, which was a win. We took it as a win. And then after that sort of, crush ASN mentality faded into a proper mission and vision. But it was fun the early days.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go back to when you opened that first store and you said, the people aren't coming in and you've built this awesome business previously, lots of people coming through. What was going through your mind? Was it self-doubt? Did you ever think about packing it up? What was going on mentally and emotionally for you?
Yeah, there's a lot of doubt. There's doubt there, definitely. It was like, oh my God, this is just, is this the right location? Is it the right store? Has ASN captured the market and no one's going to shop here? Should I have opened next to the supplement den? Not people coming in and about the right brands. All these things go through your head. And then, I thought, well, how did I do ASN back in the day? You know what I mean? I just went out, spoke to people, built relationships, knocked on doors, get some no's, you get some yes. So slowly and surely that the business did build and it was successful. But in the early days, it was, there was some doubts and there was a lot of other challenges I had too, not just people coming in. Like a lot of suppliers wouldn't supply me.
Oh, well.
Because I opened near the supplement den, they were a pivotal part of their business. And I'm like, can you supply me? And they're like, why did you open here? They didn't really like my analogy of like,
Yeah.
like, well, I'm going to stand with the best. They're the best. Let's go. What are they scared of me for? It's just, and for a little while, 12, 18 months, they wouldn't supply key brands. So I had to get key brands off, I found a guy named Angelo and his dad helped me go Vita, stock up on all the products. So I used to pull up my ute and pay cash for the products and put them on the shelves. Margins were low at the time, but hey, delivering wow with the customer service and the products that they need, and they stopped them going somewhere else. So there's lots of little challenges in the beginning.
Yeah, incredible story. I mean, I think this is where, again, most people that didn't have that discipline, that consistency, that obsession would have thrown in the towel, and I think that's what separates the average from the extraordinary is that ability to sit with it and just show up even in the face of adversity, fear. You've got the supplement den blocking you. You've probably got, HSN talking shit about you, the world against you. Do you tend to find when you've got opposition, when you've got people talking shit about you, do you use that as fuel? Does that really drive you to push on?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I think I'm one of those people that's, I'd prefer to be the underdog. It's then, chasing and driving, it pushes me, even today, if I see competitors doing something better, I'm like, good on them, but why didn't we think of that, Great for them. So yeah, I prefer to be underdog. I think it's better to chase and to go after them and then win in the end, ultimately is the goal. But yeah, just definitely using other brands and companies to drive in that early days helps.
Yeah, totally. So what was the revenue in the first year of business, if you can remember?
Yeah, it was about 800,000.
Which is still great for, especially back then.
Yeah, so it was slow to start, and then it picked up. The last 6 months really started to fly, and we had online as well. Remember, so it was like we're doing online orders. Back at the shop, serving customers in the front. And racing up to the post office in between customers, and
that was 17 years ago.
It was 17 years ago.
Wow. So from 800K in your first year up now to roughly around the $170 million mark. What an incredible journey of growth, sacrifice, and discipline. What were the hardest moments in the last 17 years? I mean, I spoke to you before we started, and I love talking about the wins and the glory and all the success, but I'm always so interested and curious about the hardest moments, whether it's like not being able to scrummaging to pay wages, or the economy tanks and you're stuck with all these orders and nowhere to ship them. What were some of the biggest challenges for you? And then we'll talk a little bit about how mentally and emotionally you navigated that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, in business, there's challenges every day. You don't have to look far in any department to see there's challenges, because you always want to deliver the best experience for your customers. That's not always the case. You know what I mean? There's technology, there's humans, people can get in the way. So there's lots of challenges. You don't have to look very far. But in the early days, there was things like getting supply, website issues, because we got Shopify now, but prior to that we had some other system that kept crashing. And I still remember, birthday sales or Black Friday, you'd send out, your email to all your database, and next minute, boom, website's down. I remember once it was down for like 6 hours. So imagine now, today, being down 6 hours, your customers is just going somewhere else, especially when you're running a sale and the complaints you get. And I don't think, people that don't own a business understand how that impacts you personally. You actually take it. It's like your little child falling over and scraping the knee. You're like, oh no, It's like it hurts you when that happens, when you see your child do that. It's like that with business too. If you really love it, which I do, it's like, oh my God, I take it personally when things happen, because I want to deliver the best experience possible, for our customers. So when that happens, it does eat away at you. Yeah, we've had shops get burnt down in the early days when there was a bit of a supplement war going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we had a Lutwyche store burned down to the ground, and our Maroochydore store was set on fire. But luckily, we got there in time. Fire brigade got there in time, because we were approaching in those early days where we were scaling. We were approaching on, other supplement stores then were starting to pop up. So we were going to their territories, and they didn't like that.
So they come and fire on the store?
They did, yeah. Wow. And at the time, you're sort of like, oh my God, like, what are we doing? You don't know who you're dealing with, because no one's going, hey, we did that, or sending you a little note going. It's just sort of like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's a sign to not open there. But, we persevered, and that didn't happen again, thankfully. Yeah. But those early days, we were sort of a bit fifth, sixth store. I was like, oh my God, what have we done?
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting industry, and it happens with the gym space sometimes. In Melbourne, it was happening a few years ago. It was wild. And it sounds like supplement industry. I mean, you see it all the time in the tattoo industry. It's crazy.
It doesn't happen now to any supplement stores, but it did in those early days. Other challenges, I mean, the biggest one is team too, because I guess we have a standard nutrition warehouse. We want to bring on inspiring team members that want to inspire our community to come in and shop and, deliver wow to them. And finding the right team members in the beginning was really daunting and hard. But we did get really lucky with a bunch of young lads and ladies that come on board, and they were just ingrained into the brand. We've got a company that's only 10 or 15 people. I think they're the best times you can look back on, because everyone, you're talking to and inspiring, a small team.
Yeah.
It's harder now with 500 plus people to do that. So in those early days, we're all pretty tight and training together and going to these fitness expos together, and, and talking about our experiences throughout the day. So they were really good times. I've lost my train of thought what I was talking about.
To your point, I mean, when you're scaling to the degree that you have, when you've got over 500 staff, you've got leases and buildings everywhere. It is constant logistical challenges, people problems, mindset problems across the board. So I'm sure you're dealing with it nonstop and always will. And I think that's what also people forget. They'll look at you and say, Grant's just lucky. Everything's like smooth sailing. This brand's just booming. But, behind closed doors or behind the curtains, we're all like panic ducks, just making sure that we can serve everybody. There's always going to be problems to fix. And I think people don't put enough weight on that. They don't understand that it's always going to be a journey and there's always going to be battles to fight and win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think people, I guess that's probably a pet hate of mine, actually, when people say, oh, you're so lucky, because I guess they don't see the work, the sacrifice that's gone on for years and years. And look, I am lucky, you know what I mean? I find very lucky going to bodybuilding. I found that. That's business, something I love. Very lucky, I agree. But when people say it in a sarcastic way that makes you feel like you're just lucky you didn't work hard for it.
Yeah.
It's like they don't see the behind the scenes of like, you might only work Monday to Friday, but you're still working weekends, checking phones or stores not opening, or there's always, like we said before, challenges to think about. And you might see something, out of the blue with your family, you're like, oh, that's a great idea. And you're like writing that down, like, hey, ain't you supposed to be spending time with your family? Just darling, just give me a second. I got no idea. I don't want to forget about it. So it's consistently trying to improve as well.
Tell me a little bit about the work ethic, now, but especially in that first sort of 5 to 10 years when you're just establishing a brand and have no doubt that you were doing massive hours. What was that grind like? And why I'm curious is that, I get to speak with so many entrepreneurs and coaches and people starting out. And, most individuals in the beginning, they underestimate what it actually takes to make a sale or to grow a business. You've got to call 300 people to get one booking in order to make a sale, but they're not willing to do that because it should be easier, and people complain about absolutely everything. But I'd love to know, you've built a business to 170 million. What sort of work ethic and grind did it take you, especially in that first 10 years?
Yeah, I think it was harder in the first years. Like now I've got a whole, amazing team, 500 people that have turn up every day and, like I'm not there today, I'm here with you. That the machine's still running.
Yes.
The earlier days is with any startup is, the founder has to do all the grunt work and get in and be disciplined and focused and make sure that they're not just doing the day to day, but they're also like, well, how do we get from here to here? You know what I mean? What's the growth of the business? What's the vision? How are we going to expand? It's all these things you have to be thinking about consistently and constantly whilst doing day to day, whilst serving people, doing sales. So yeah, I think there's a lot involved in like growing the business, but yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. No, it does. With the hours that you used to do, what were the hours like initially? I mean, not now because I know that you got team and it also becomes easier, thank God, just for everybody listening and watching. Eventually there's a tipping point, so you can look forward to that. But, you got to be prepared to grind for that 10 years. So what sort of hours did you do initially and late night, early mornings? Give me a bit of an idea of that.
Well, I was still traveling in the early days, I was still traveling from the Gold Coast. So I was driving Underwood, which is, a 2 hour, 1 hour, 2 hour round trip, you know what I mean? So 2 hours a day traveling. And then obviously, opening at, 8:30 in the morning, closing at 5. So, we're just sort of doing 12-hour days, plus then getting home and then working on, website updates and et cetera, and day-to-day stuff, but also looking at new stores. And then, for the early years, I would go set up to first about 30 stores. I would help set up every store. Like we'd put the tradies in there and paint the floors, et cetera. But then we would go in and set up the shelving, to cut costs, put all the products on. But I would do that with the team. So the team could actually see me and go, oh, Grant's here working. So, okay, set the standard early. I can't do that now because there's just too many stores, over 100. But that sort of set the standard in those early days of, hey, I'm here, so I want you here, setting that standard. But yeah, the work ethic, I guess, is still there. I guess it doesn't leave, from the bodybuilding to the business. I'm still trying to improve myself personally, business, like I don't know everything. You get a whole team to help and train you. I'm learning stuff every day, just like they are. And we're just trying to make Nutrition Warehouse like, the place to come for all your sports supplement needs, which we've done that, but it's a journey still. Yeah. It's a great journey. It's what I'm still enjoying after 17 years or over 20 years with ASN. I love the space. I love the fitness space. I get to travel to expos and see like-minded people like yourself, Andy, that, love this journey they're on themselves. So, and I'm learning from people like yourself or podcasts every day.
It's inspiring, mate. And I think, the way that you lead by example really says a lot about your success, and I think that's so important for all founders and people starting out in business. They've got to understand, they've got to get in the trenches and learn the system and lead from the front for a good period of time before they can delegate anything. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that realistically, unfortunately. So, again, it's just another really good tidbit of gold for everybody listening, that even at 170 million, you still lead from the front. You're still learning. You're still willing to fail and face adversity and get up every day and have another crack. So it's awesome to see. I'm curious about your strategy to grow, because you've got so many stores, you've got so many staff, but you've chosen to do it privately. You haven't franchised. You've reinvested. Another sign of the sacrifice that you've shown across the years. You didn't use franchising as an example to self-fund the scale. Tell me, why did you choose that over something like getting partners in or franchising? Why did you go down the private route?
Yeah, great question. I looked at franchising. After about 7, 8, 10 stores, I actually went to a company and went, hey, because someone said to me, you should be franchising. I'm like, should I be? Why? They went, oh, we do this and do this, and they pay for everything and it's lower risk. And I'm like, okay, let's have a look at it. So I went, hired a company to look at it and gave me all my numbers, and they gave me all these projections and everything. But it comes down to one thing at the end, do you want to sell franchises, or do you want to, build a company that's purpose-driven, that can lead a team, and, it's not about us, it's about them, rather than selling franchises to people. So yeah, I went, now I'm just going to, and it was just really wasn't even a big decision. I sort of looked at the two and went, once I understood it better, I went, I don't want a franchise. I don't want to sit there going, do you want to buy a franchise? I want to sit there going, hey, this is Nutrition Warehouse. This is our why. We're purpose driven. We're trying to inspire people to be built for life. Train the team, all one team, let's go. Not like everyone squabbling over territories and selling franchise. So that's why I did it. I mean, I can see why franchising works for like Sarafas and food and that, And the other thing, to be honest, was the margins weren't there in sports nutrition, realistically. They're not massive margins, and to share those, and still grow and have a support offers very slim margins was probably the second reason.
Well, I think you've had a really smart decision, and less people problem, even though you've got people problems, of course, but it can obviously create a lot of, in-house competition and a bit of a negative culture sometimes.
Yeah. We've got people problems, but we've got more great people than, our team's amazing, honestly. And like I said here today in the team, the show's still running, because I always think about, there's 116 stores open today. They brushed their teeth and they went to 116 store managers watching those stores today.
Yeah, it's amazing. What does your kids and wife and family think about the success that you've been able to create over the last 70 years?
They kept me pretty grounded, actually.
Yeah.
We're not sitting there going, you're amazing, Dad.
Yeah.
I think my wife's saying, have you done the dishes?
Yeah. So we're getting the dream, just leave for the front.
Yeah, I'm definitely not the CEO at home, that's for sure. So, look, they obviously have been there and seen the journey and the growth, and, they're part of the brand, and I love taking them to the expos and showing off what we've created. But realistically for them, I think I'm just Grant and just Dad, and, although my daughter now, who's 15, is starting to ask questions, and she asked me some collagen, some greens the other day, which I was sort of like, didn't have to, force someone to do. She's asked out of her own free will. I was like a little bit chuffed and went, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. How many kids have you got?
2.
Matt, boy and girl? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. Have they got the entrepreneurial gene in them as well, or what do they want to do when they go?
Max is only 7, so he's too young. He's got a little cheek in him, I know that. And Ruby's 15, and I don't know. Yeah, and I don't want to force it realistically, because I remember when I was 15, and I think even now some people ask Ruby, what do you want to do? And I'm like, man, I didn't know what I wanted to do until I was 30.
Yes.
So a 15-year-old, highly unlikely they know what they want to do. And if they do, great. But there's also a part of me that thinks, had I have been on this journey earlier, just like I started this at 20 and I didn't do bodybuilding, I was on this business journey from 20. I wonder if I'd be burnt out by now, because it's been 20 years now. I'm still enjoying it, but if I had another 30 years to do it, I'd probably be like, man. But some people have done it, like the Nike founder, and that went for years. But I think for myself personally, my advice to my daughter, go have fun, enjoy yourself, travel, laugh, because once you do get into business or anything that is worth having, or, a sport or something, it really is, the grind of relentlessly thinking about that for months and years to be good at it. And once you're in that, it's hard to let loose and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally. Are you like strategically or intentionally trying to teach them the same things you've learned through bodybuilding and business, or what's your take on I guess fatherhood and passing down this wisdom and knowledge to your kids?
Do you have teenagers?
No.
Yeah, I can see.
Guarantee comes down this year.
Look, I try and give my daughter some advice. Whether she's listening or not, I'm not too sure right now. We'll see in the later years. It's a tough age around that 15 where they sort of listen. Or I've gave her speeches before, like trying to do my best to keep it, where she's like, "Okay, Dad, I've heard enough now." So I'm like, "Okay, fine." So yeah, hopefully later on she'll come and see me and say, "Hey, Dad, how do I do X, Y, Z?" Right now, I think she's really into the sport, which is great. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll see what comes out of it.
And a lot of learning in that category as well. The athletic space, such an important time of youth to learn, again, sacrifice, discipline, all those lessons as well. Yeah, it's incredible, mate. Tell me a bit about the standards as an individual, because to create a business that's, again, doing 170 million, 500 staff, it takes a huge level of leadership, a huge level of discipline. It takes a mind that is humble and willing to learn and fail and all those sorts of things. What do you do in regards to personal development and just that constant daily ritual of making sure that you're in tune and turned on for work and for life?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, for me, it's just staying curious is probably the thing I keep at the forefront. Like, I'm not one of those people who think I know everything, because I don't, you know what I mean? Realistically, I sit here after all these years and go, how did we build this? You know what I mean? But it was really brick by brick, day by day, relentless, going after it just day in, day out. So I don't believe I know everything. And I know I don't know everything because I listen to podcasts and people like yourself. I'm like, man, I wish I was that smart. Man, I wish I could speak like those guys. So I want to keep getting better at speaking or doing things that help others realistically. Or giving advice where I can. But for myself, podcasts are big for me. I'm not one to listen to music when I'm driving around. I'm listening to podcasts when I'm training, when I'm driving, about leadership, anything that I'm interested in. Books. I'm reading books, mainly podcasts, books every now and again, but mainly podcasts, just easier. Books, e-learning. So learning through, again, listening to books whilst I'm driving. I've done some business coaching in that before with a business coach. Yeah, not bad, but probably not for me.
Yeah.
I prefer to sit with someone and go, hey, how does this work? Teach me, show me. I'm not one to read something and go and do it. I'm more practical. Show me how to do it. How's this computer work? Show me. How does this marketing work? Show me. Don't send me an email because I won't read it. I'll read half of it and go, blah, 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 blah. I'm one of those guys. I just want to keep learning, keep getting better through podcasts. But I'm not, and just making sure I hire the right people too, you know what I mean? Which then teaches me, I guess, someone said, I read somewhere long ago that, hire people that know what they're doing in each department and get the hell out the way. Yeah. You didn't hire them to tell them what to do. They should be telling you what to do. And that's part of hiring great team members. And then they fall in love with their department and life gets easier.
Totally. I mean, it takes a good leader. It takes someone humble in order to make that actually work as well. Because again, often we'll hire great people, micromanage the crap out of them, and then lose them eventually if we can't maintain that relationship.
Yeah, and I think as a CEO or the founder, you're hiring people to bring new skill sets and new things into the business to help it grow. And like you said, you don't want to micromanage people.
Yeah. Do you seek out mentors? I know not like you try business coaching, you listen to podcasts, but do you seek out individuals that, I mean, at this stage, no one's done what you've done. So it's hard to find someone that's a little bit higher than you to actually do it unless you're going over to the States. But, for me personally, I'm so grateful for all the mentors in my life since I've started business because they just give me the edge in thinking and strategy. And, I'm generally happy to pay a mentor hundreds of thousands of dollars if I needed to get the hack to fast track me by 5 years. But did you have that same sort of drive, and do you still look for mentors to help you along the journey?
No.
It'd be great.
I mean, I think,
curious.
like I said, I'm not a great student. I think that's what it is. It's like the podcasts and the books. I'll take snippet, little gold nuggets, I call them, out of those things, and I'll keep them in a journal and I'll go back to them and go, yep. I'll learn, if I want to learn about leadership, I'll spend 3 months listening to, different podcasts and Jocko Willink and all that sort of thing and go, okay, I've got it. I've got the basics of it. Okay. And then mold it into my own version. A bit like I did with bodybuilding. Hey, that's how I should be training, but I'll just do it Grant's way, but take, Dorian Yates's way, with me. I'm not a great student. So if you say I have to do this, and like I was never the kid in school doing his homework. I was never doing my homework or handing in a thesis or something. I'm like, I ain't doing that. Like you talked about business plan before. I still remember Greg Young from Body Science when we first approached them. Can we stock you? It's a business plan. Like I just didn't have that business acumen to do that, you know what I mean? And to me, I guess it's, business plans can change and that. So I guess in theory, if you should have a business plan, and we do now, obviously, the direction we're going and so forth, but it's probably not as polished as it should be.
Yeah. I love that. Again, that makes me feel better as well. When I started in business, I put a business plan together to raise capital, but looking back on it, it was just a hack job and something that was an absolute mess. But you left school at 14, you were 15?
Year 10, so what's that, 15 or 16 or something?
Yeah, I left school at the same time as well. So it's awesome to see someone like you that's left school in year 10, doing over 170 million a year, and again, still has that ability to figure it out along the way. And like I said, you're just willing to have a crack and make it work, and you surround yourself with great people, which is so clear.
Yeah, I think that's the secret. The secret really is making sure you're doing something you actually love, because business is really, really hard. Like, bodybuilding is really hard. Anything you're doing is really, really hard. If you want to be good at it, it's hard. So you can't expect to be successful at anything unless you want to go through the trenches and do it day after day relentlessly, or it's just not going to work. So people go, I want to start a business. Most people fail because they want to start it, but they don't really want to start it. Because it is a lot of work and it's relentless for years and years. Ronnie Coleman said, everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but no one wants to live the goddamn heavy weight. It's an analogy for life, business. Say they want to do stuff, but they don't. I was just lucky that I fell in love with bodybuilding, and I fell in love with creating something. I don't even like to call it business. I'm just creating something, that luckily, people love to come in and shop. And
mate, tell me a little bit about your energy rituals. I think as an entrepreneur, something I'm always focusing on big time is just dialing in my health and my energy so I can, to be honest, just work longer hours. Like I'm trying to maximize every second of every day right now and really push myself to still train twice a day, but also be able to work massive hours and keep, cognitively sharp and on point. Do you put a big focus on your health still? I mean, you look amazing, by the way, and you clearly come from world-class background. That's right. Hats off to you, sir. But again, do you put a big focus on that? And do you also share that with your team to make sure that they're dialed in and, they're fully on as well?
Yeah, great question. No, look, I'm still training. I still love training. Obviously not lifting heavy weights like I used to. Still resistance training is my thing. I love going to the gym. It's, it's great for my mental state and, it's my happy place. It's my second home realistically besides, third home, I should say. But the gym's awesome. I love the gym. Just lifting weights does something to the body, mentally and physically and spiritually that I don't think you can get anywhere else. Or just a hard workout. It doesn't have to be weights, just a good workout, I think is pivotal, especially for me. Still training four times a week in the gym, weights, and still supplementing where I can. But my supplement resume has gone away from trying to be big and massive to like longevity and, flexibility and, I want to be around for another, 20, 30 years if I can for the kids and to watch Nutrition Warehouse flourish. So yeah, still taking a myriad of supplements, but they're more like NMN and creatine and proteins and greens and reds and vitamins. My wife's always like, my God, there's a whole pills and powders and potions, but they're all for good, not evil. So yeah, fitness is still a big part of what I do. Could I do more? Sure, but I sort of think I don't want to be that Mr. World physique anymore. I'm quite happy just being, Grant now. So yeah, physically, yes. Supplements, yes. And eating, I think once you've been a bodybuilder or physically, changed your body, it's hard to go back to eating bad food. So I still eat fairly healthy,
I feel like that gives you the edge in business based on, having more edgy to handle the toughest situations. I mean, when you're feeling good and your energy's up, you can handle bigger problems. There's no doubt about it. Stress is a lot less taxing when you are mentally and emotionally and physically prepared. Do you think that's given you the edge over the years?
Well, no doubt, bodybuilding or being fit and healthy is definitely gives you an edge, I believe, because I think any training, not just bodybuilding, but any training, you physically feel better. You feel, and maybe it's not even physical, it's more mental. There's nothing better than going, not that I run, but I have before, a run or exhausting yourself in the gym, walking, you actually feel accomplished. It's like a tick in the box. So it can actually make you go longer for the day, I believe. But that's not to say people who, have been highly successful that have never lifted a weight or never trained too. So I think for me personally, that it helps me. And I think that, starting training at 20, I think it's just part of me now. I think like Arnold, I'll be lifting till the day I drop.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's just part of my DNA now. If I stop training, I just won't be Grant. You know what I mean? I may not look like the past Grant, but I just won't be Grant anymore. So I think you can get there both ways, but I think it's definitely a plus, if you are, taking the right supplementation and training and physically fit.
Yeah, totally.
It's a bonus.
I completely agree. Yeah, for sure. Mate, we're now in 17 years of the business. You're killing the game. You dominate the game. Then that's for damn sure. You're doing 170 million revenue. Are you investing in other companies? Have you got like you're chasing some other goals? Or are you all in now on the brand, the Nutrition Warehouse brand and the sub brands within that? What's your current?
Yeah, good question. So look, I guess for the first decade, it was just Nutrition Warehouse, sinking my teeth into it, going, and then starting to read and thinking it's, okay, well, I've got some cash flow now and some dividends, and what do I do with this? How do I can grow my wealth, so there's money there for my family when I'm gone. I did start looking at other investments and going, okay, what can I invest in? Because, cash in the bank is just getting eroded away with inflation. So you're going to invest it. So, John from World Gym let me into a couple of his gyms, and I invested in a couple of those gyms. Just recently sold that investment after about 7 years. So that was great. I'm into the crypto and doing Bitcoin and so forth, and I love that. It's not doing so good. Don't look at it today. Have a look at it today.
It peaks
and troughs. Never saw a Bitcoin. Hodl. Crypto, stocks. And just recently we, funnily enough, Simon and I, so Simon and Troy own Prestige Blending up in Yatala there. They own a manufacturing plant. It makes all the proteins and pre-workouts and everything. And, Nutrition Warehouse now has a private label. We've got 4 private labels within our brands and Nutrition Warehouse that we've created over the years. And so I went to them like 2 years ago and said, I should buy into this and get everything made here. I'm going to move across X amount of dollars. And they're like, yeah, okay. So they sold me a 33% stake in Prestige. So now Simon and I come full circle. Business. And we're back in business again. Oh, it's awesome. Now we are silent partners. Troy, runs the show. But yeah, so we're investing in the manufacturing part of it as well. But I get to see what goes into products. I get to see what proteins are coming from and make sure the supplements we are selling throughout Nutrition Warehouse, are top notch and not, some backyard, made up in some backyard lab or something. So, and Troy's very diligent and has all the, documentation and everything. So that's really good. That's come full circle. And look, I've been doing investments in houses for a long time, I guess. That was before even Nutrition Warehouse.
Yeah. Incredible. And so to tie it off with a happy ending, you and Simon, I've met Simon a bunch of times. He's a great guy. Yep. You guys are now friends again and in business again.
Yeah. Look, we had about 10 years where we were sort of like, if we saw each other on the street, we probably might have been a fisticuff, you know what I mean? A little bit. But look, yes, everything comes full circle. Totally. You know what I mean? And I don't think we're ever bitter enemies, and we're better friends than we are enemies. And maybe that drove both of us back then. And when we were young, we made some, we both made errors in our judgments. And it's come full circle. We're back in business again. And, ASN is doing well today. And, Nutrition Warehouse is doing better. Yeah. But right, son. But here we laugh. The good thing is someone will laugh at me. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, totally. It's so good, mate. Mate, what's the plan for Nutrition Warehouse? Are you going to exit one day? Are you going to just keep running with the ball? What's your vision?
Yeah. About 2 years ago, I sort of got to the point where I started looking at our stores and I sort of went, they're looking a bit, dated, a bit old. We need a refresh. So I started working with a third-party company and just rebranded Nutrition Warehouse. And we just got a new logo, similar to the old one, but, if you go look at the old one, you go, ooh. And refreshed all the stores, and all the new stores are looking amazing, and that sort of put some ammunition under my butt, I guess. I really love that process. Working with that third party, making the stores come to life, looking better. So we're rolling that out, and then we looked at our the whole Nutrition Warehouse model, and we sort of went, our vision, our mission, and our purpose is really flat. If we're going to inspire people, in the community and internally to really drive this brand, we need to change everything. So I read a good book, which was Jim Collins, which is, can't even think what it's called now. Good to Create. I've read that one. And I read that and it explained a lot and it explained really well. Jim Collins is amazing. If anyone wants to get that book, we'll put it in the thing down because I can't remember. And I thought, okay, we need to redo the whole mission and everything. So we sat down and, in the early days, we had all our core values and everything, but we didn't have a team. Sort of done them myself. So sat down with the team this time and worked out, who really is Nutrition Warehouse. So just recently we rolled out our whole vision framework, which basically is, why we exist, our purpose at Nutrition Warehouse, which is really important for any brand, to understand who you are and what you're trying to do. Our mission now is, we want to inspire people to be built for life, Now, built for life can mean many things, built for life, built healthy, built ripped, built fast, built energetic, built fierce, built strong. It's your personal take, but built for life is our tagline now. And our North Star and our mantra, and that's what we're going after. And we've got an internal number in our store right now internally to go, hey, we want to inspire 2 million people, unique customers. Doesn't matter if they shop 10 times a year, it's just one. 2 million customers to be built for life by 2034, so the next 10 years. So currently we're about 600,000 customers, so we're going to like 3x the business. We kept getting new people into Nutrition Warehouse. And the reason for that is we want to obviously help people be built for life, inspire them. So internally, we've got a number now to sort of go after and drive internally. And externally, obviously, built for life is driving, inspiring people out there, hopefully. And then we looked at our values and went, our core values are pretty what was it? Trying to think about old ones because now I've got all these new ones in my head. They're really plain and lame. It was like be authentic and be honest. And it was like just one word is like, well, everyone should be honest. We're human. So we've changed that now. And, some of our core values are like, deliver wow because we want to wow the customer.
Yeah.
and our internal team as well, deliver everybody. It is, stronger together, stronger every day, sorry. So, we want to be stronger every day. So every day, read, get better. How can we improve systems, improve our value add for customers? Enjoy the journey is one we have from day one, which is really important to the team. When it kind of work every day, enjoy that journey. Make sure you're waking up and going, hey, this is great. I want to go to work, make a difference. But when our customers enjoy the journey too, when they come into Nutrition Warehouse as well.
Yeah.
And there's a multitude of others, there's 5 core values. So we looked at all those and now we're talking about them and bringing them to life. You can see them on our website.
Yeah.
That's really reignited the team. So now the team's got, values that they must align by. So when we're hiring, we're looking at, hey, do you align with our values? Are you delivering well? Are you enjoying the journey? Are you getting stronger every day? Are you learning? Are you growing as an individual? And setting the standard, I guess, for the supplement stores to follow, to sort of go, hey, this is the standard that we've set. And it sets us apart from our competitors.
Oh, it's powerful. I mean, that's what truly rallies. When you have that amount of staff, you need to get behind a mission and a set, like a code for everybody to fight for and live up to every single day. And clearly it changes the whole culture of the company.
That's right. Yeah. So that's what we've done. We saw the culture was sort of, flattening off and, do engagement surveys. We're going backwards. Why? And then once I read that book, it was another epiphany moment when, there's nothing to drive for. In the early days, we had Crush ASM. And that really drove us, And then we had the next one was like, let's get the 50 stores, Now, externally, we had, we want to help you, inspire you, to reach your own health and fitness goals. That was the early mission.
Yeah.
But after those, we're like, they can't be 200 stores, 100 stores. It makes no difference. Are we making a difference to people's lives? And let's talk about the customer now, not about ourselves, So our new mission is powerful, inspiring people to be built for life. Because we really, truly believe that, Nutrition Warehouse is different, and we want to make it different. We want people to walk into this supplement store and be in awe of the size and scale of it and have all the brands and products. And then it's met with, team members that are enthusiastic, that are going, hey, Andy, what do you need? What brings you to Nutrition Warehouse and how can we help you achieve your goals? Rather than going, what are you after? The normal sup store before us was, and still is is eating rice and chicken and, the big bodybuilder like I was behind the counter, grunting and groaning and pointing.
Yeah, the eye, the evil eye.
Correct, yeah. So we want to turn that on its head and go, hey, now we're a real retailer now. You know what I mean? We have to act like a real retailer. So, if you go into some of our newer store and the older stores, you're getting greeted with that. So we really wanted a powerful, culture shift.
Yeah.
So that's what we've done in the last 12, 18 months. It's been a great project internally and externally. And you'll see that through our marketing and everything now.
Mate, it's exciting. It sounds like there's no stopping you guys and you're doing everything the right way to just continue scale. So, mate, I'm excited. I want to get down and buy some supplements and check out the new stores. But, mate, I've got one final question for you. And if this was the last podcast you ever did, your last message to the world for all the entrepreneurs out there, all the athletes out there that are aspiring to do more, be more, achieve more, what advice would you give them?
Back to what I said before, find something you truly love. Make sure you truly love it. You're not doing it for someone else, or because you think you have to do it. To truly create something great and do it day after day, week after week, year after year, continuously, you really have to fall in love with it and enjoy that process. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, to impress someone else, it's not going to work. And if you haven't found it, keep looking for it. You know what I mean? It's there. I got very lucky to find, bodybuilding, which sent me to sports supplements, and even now it's more retail. I love the retail part of it, and watching customers walk in and how they're excited. So I would say that, find something you're really passionate about, because if you're going to do it for the long term, it's really tough. It's a long road. It's a tough road. There's ups and downs. There's bumps. You've got to make sure that, you got to navigate all those and still be like, no, I'm still turning up today. You'll be the same with bodybuilding. You're doing those comps. I always put things back to the gym because I can sort of sit there and see it and feel it. It's like, those tough times when you're dieting for those comps, you're like, oh my God, I feel like giving up. What am I doing this for? But you don't, because you're going to let yourself down. You keep relentlessly doing it until you get to the other side, hopefully with the trophy in your hand. I think business is much the same, but you wouldn't do that if you didn't love it. So I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. Make sure you love it.
Well said, mate. Made from a 20K investment to 170 million. We'll catch up for a podcast celebration when you hit your 200 million mark. I'm really excited for you. But mate, you're an inspiration. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate the time.
For everybody listening, if you love this podcast, share it. Give this info to someone who needs to hear it. This may be the thing that shifts their mindset and helps them win as well. We'll see you on the next episode.